I recently did some staff training at the local Durban University of Technology in their fashion department, and I also have done last year some training also at the Tshwane University of Technology fashion department, and it got me thinking about doing a short tutorial on some tips and tricks in Illustrator to help designers work a little bit smarter. So what I have here is just a plain document in Illustrator, and I'm going to place a file. I'm just going to go to File, Place, and go and find my document, and making sure that I'm not linking it. So this link option must be off. Place, and I'm just going to place a file. So let's say that this is a photograph that a fashion designer has identified as containing the colors that they want to use as the key colors for a range of designs. It could be even an interior designer who's trying to identify some colors to use in their designs. So a very good way of working in Illustrator is to take your photograph and go to Edit, and then down to, go to Object, and then down to Create Object Mosaic. And you have a lot of settings here, but basically if you just do a 10 by 10 number of tiles and just press OK, what it actually does is it reads the colors in your image, and it creates a series of vector rectangles representing the different colors in the image. So if I now ungroup that, I can now get rid of the ones that I don't want and just hand pick the colors that I wanted from that photograph. So let's say I want that dark sort of purple color, and this sort of more of a plum color, and let's take one of the oranges. So let's say those are my three key colors that I want. I'll delete the rest, and I'll place these over here and just align them nicely and distribute them. And let's say from here I need to create a range of different tints for these colors. So I'm going to take those three, and holding down Alt, I'm going to make a couple of copies, and then the last ones here I'm going to turn to white. Okay, so I'm going to select the first four vertically, and I'm going to go to Edit, Edit Colors, Blend Vertically, and you'll see that what it does is it blends them from the darkest color, from the top color to the bottom color. So I'll get rid of the white. I'll repeat that action. So Edit, Edit Colors, Blend Vertically, get rid of the white, and then once again Edit Colors, Blend Vertically, get rid of the white. So now I have some different tints of those colors. So I can now create some color groups. So I'll take this one, and in my swatches panel I'll go down to create a new color group, and I'll just call it let's call it purples, and I'll say I want to make the group out of the selected artwork, convert to global colors is a good idea, include swatches for tints. I don't think that's necessary, but I'll leave it on anyway. So now I have my color group for the purples. I'll do the same for the plums. Let's just say plums, and OK. And then I'll do the same for the oranges, and I'll just call this tangerine. And so now I have those three color groups. So I can get rid of the artwork, but I'm actually not going to get rid of it. I'm going to keep it down here just in case. But what I can now do with these three color groups is I can add them to my Creative Cloud libraries. So I'm going to go to my libraries. I'm going to make a new library, and I'll just call it Design Library, for want of a better word, and create. And then I'm going to go back to my swatches, and here I'm going to click on this button that says Add Selected Swatches to Color Groups, and Color Groups to my current library, and add them. So now you can see I have these three color themes added to my Creative Cloud library, which means it will be available to me anywhere that I go with any of the Adobe applications that I choose to use on any computer. The next thing I want to deal with is creating custom brushes and saving them. So I'm going to deal with specifically with a fashion kind of scenario, but this could be for anything, landscaping, interior design, architecture, and so on. So I'm just going to create a brush for a zipper, which would be quite a common thing that a fashion designer might need. So I'm just going to make, first of all, the head or the tail of the zipper, I suppose. I'm not a fashion designer, so I don't know the names for them. So I'll just create a little bit of artwork here. This is very simple Illustrator stuff that an Illustrator user would be able to do. Let's do that, and then another little piece in here. Okay, and I'll align those. Move that over a little bit, and then I'll use my pathfinder. So that's the tail of the zipper. The head of the zipper, I'll make just a rounded rectangle like that. Okay, and then the actual zipper line, I'm just going to make one segment of that, which is going to look like that. Okay, so I'll group that, and then I'll line these up nicely using my align tools, and I'll just pop that down there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn these into patterns first, which is the first step you have to do. So in my swatches panel, I'm literally going to drag each one of these. So I'll drag the first one, I'll double click on it, and I'll call it zipper head. Okay, and say done. Then I'll take this one, drag it in here, double click on it, and call it zipper line, and done. And then this one, don't worry about the fact that they've gone all weird, we'll sort that out. And then next one I'll call zipper tail. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the original artwork, and then I'm going to go to my brushes panel, and I'm going to go down to new brush, and I'm going to choose pattern brush and say okay. And in my pattern brush dialog box, I'll just call this zipper brush, and I'm going to start choosing the patterns that I want to use for the different parts of the line. So for the corners, I'm going to use the zipper head. For the straight parts, I'm going to use the zipper line. And for the inside corners, I'll use the zipper head. For the beginning part, I'll use the zipper head. And for the end part, I'll use the zipper tail. Okay, and let me test that. So I'm just going to say, okay, take my brush tool, and let's set the brush size down a bit. And let me just try that. Okay, not bad. Let's try a smaller size here. Okay, that's much better. All right, so that's zipper brush. Let me just do a few lines here just to demonstrate it. So, sorry, it's a bit big. Make it smaller. Okay. Oh, it's come out way too big. Okay, so I'm going to go back in here, bring the scale down. Okay. And let's see what that looks like. Much better. Okay. So I'll just do a few examples here of how you could use this. Okay, so that's a zipper brush. Let's say that you want to do stitches for different types of garments. So if I just make one stitch, let's say it's going to be a double stitch. So I'll just make one black box and then duplicate it like that. So that's my double stitch. Select that, make a pattern with it in my swatches. I'll double click on that and just call it double stitch. And done. Get rid of the original artwork and go to my brushes, make a new pattern brush. I'll call it a double stitch brush. Stitch brush. And I will just choose that brush for everything. So, or at least that pattern for everything here. And one more. There it is. I'm going to put some spacing in. So here's spacing. I'll just put in some spacing like that so it looks looks good. For the corners, we can try some of these corners. So maybe I choose auto between. Yeah, that looks better. And this corner as well, auto between. And then say OK. Take my brush, change the size, and test it out. Okay, so that's a double stitch brush. So you can build up a whole lot of brushes, and you'll end up with them in your brushes panel. Now, you cannot add these brushes to your Creative Cloud library. So what you can do is, in your brushes panel, you can go down to Save Brush Library, and you can actually save this brush library somewhere. I'm going to put it on my desktop and just call it Fashion Brushes, and save it. So now I've got that saved. And I can then, in any other document, I can go back to my brushes panel and I can say Open Brush Library, Other Library, and I can go and choose that fashion brushes that I created. And that's how you would work with brushes. So the last section in this short video is dealing with symbols. So quite often you're going to need to create certain things repeatedly. So if we take the fashion design example, you might have certain types of buttons and grommets that you need to access on a regular basis. This would be a typical scenario where a symbol would be an appropriate way to go. So I'm just going to create a very simple button. So I'll create a circle and I'll duplicate that and just make it smaller. Let's just make that white, and I'll then duplicate these. Let me just zoom in a little bit here and duplicate like that. Let me group those and let's just align all of that nicely. So there's my button, and let's just take it down a bit smaller. Okay, there's a button, and let's make a grommet as well. So this will just be another circle, smaller, and let's use our Pathfinder. Okay, so there's a grommet, there's a button. Here's my symbols panel. I'm going to take the artwork for the button, drag it into my symbols panel, and I'll call it simple button. And all of the rest here you don't have to worry about. Say OK, and let's take this, drag it in, and I'll call it simple grommets. Okay, and so now I've got these two objects as symbols, and what that means is that I can use them whenever I want to, as many times as I want to. So I'm just going to drag out multiple buttons here. And the beauty with these buttons is that they are linked to the original symbol. So the symbol lives in the library, the button instances live on the document. And so at any stage I could select one of these instances and swap it out for, say, the grommet instead of the button. I could also double click on any one of these and go into edit mode and change something about that button. So let's say I want it to be a red button. And when I exit that mode, all of my symbols change, including in my symbols panel. So symbols is a powerful way for you to use certain types of artwork over and over again from a library. It's kind of like a library, but the items on your document retain a relationship with the original artwork. Okay, so I'll just undo that to get rid of these. If I need to save these symbols, you can't add them to your Creative Cloud library unless you just add them as ordinary artwork. So what you can do is in your symbols library, you can go down here and say Save Symbol Library, and I'll go to my desktop and I'll just call this Fashion Symbols YM and save. And so in another document I could go in and I could open a symbol library and open other and go and load that in there. So what I'm left here with is a document that has some of the original artwork. Now I wouldn't get rid of this. So even though I've got my symbols saved, I've got my brushes saved, I've got my color themes in my Creative Cloud library, I would still keep this document, and this document is typically called a donor document, which means it contains a lot of stuff that you're going to need in other documents. And I would save this in an archive so that if ever I need access to this artwork again, I still have a hard, well, not a hard copy, but more accessible copy. You never know when you're going to be offline. You maybe can't access your Creative Cloud libraries, or you might have accidentally deleted or corrupted some of your symbols or brush libraries. So having an Illustrator document as a donor document that contains all of that artwork is a good idea. And I would just build up a library of these kinds of documents containing different types of artwork for different types of design projects. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you next time.